When Terminator 2 exploded into theaters in 1991, it didn't just change sci-fi, it changed filmmaking itself, from near-fatal stunts and weird filming conditions to actors enduring nightmares. Here are 20 weird and surprising facts about Terminator 2. Fact 1.
All right, my man!
No problemo.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's salary for T2 was one of the biggest in Hollywood history at the time, $15 million for a script where he speaks fewer than 700 words. When fans did the math, it came out to about $21,429 per word. What makes this weirder is how little dialogue he actually has and how iconic every line became. His 16-second delivery of "Hasta la vista, baby" alone technically earned him nearly $500,000, but James Cameron defended the cost. Arnold wasn't just an actor, he was the movie's brand. His physical transformation, stunt training, and promotional commitments spanned months. Cameron once said, "Arnold's silence is part of the performance. It's what made the Terminator terrifying." Schwarzenegger's contract also included a private gym, a jet, and a luxury trailer fitted with a sauna. Despite the deal, Arnold gave back part of his salary to cover overtime costs after the production ran over budget. Fact 2. For T2, Linda Hamilton didn't just play Sarah Connor, she became her. Determined to reinvent her character from a victim into a warrior, Hamilton underwent an intense, year-long transformation that shocked everyone on set. She trained 6 days a week with ex-Israeli commando Uzi Gal, who drilled her in combat tactics, knife fighting, and heavy weapons. She could disassemble and reassemble an M16 blindfolded. Unlike most actors, Hamilton insisted on firing real live ammunition to understand recoil and accuracy. During prep, she even practiced at a real range alongside soldiers to ensure her movements looked authentic. The results were astounding. Her muscular physique and steely demeanor became cultural touchstones. Hamilton's twin sister Leslie, who later appeared as her double in one key scene, said, "She scared me. Sarah Connor wasn't acting. That was Linda." Hamilton also lived on a high-protein diet, ran daily, and trained through exhaustion. Cameron encouraged it, saying, "Sarah had to look like she'd lived through the apocalypse." Her transformation changed how Hollywood portrayed female action heroes. Before T2, women rarely got to be both emotional and fierce. After Sarah Connor, that barrier was gone. Fact 3. The T-1000 isn't just a liquid metal killing machine, it's a predator in motion. Actor Robert Patrick worked closely with James Cameron to create the character's eerily fluid physicality. The two decided that the T-1000 should move like a shark, efficient, silent, and unstoppable. Patrick trained to run without heavy breathing or bouncing, so he'd appear inhumanly calm during chase scenes. He studied wildlife footage of sharks and cheetahs to perfect his body control. In the film, notice how his arms stay close to his body while running. That streamlined movement was deliberate. Cameron also instructed Patrick to never blink when firing a gun, giving the illusion that the machine doesn't flinch under recoil. Patrick nailed it so perfectly that fans often mistake his performances for CGI-enhanced shots, but it's all real, practical acting. To maintain his shark-like presence, Patrick avoided interacting with co-stars between takes. He said, "I wanted them to see me as something unnatural, not human." It worked. His portrayal terrified audiences because it felt biological, not robotic, cold, sleek, and predatory like nature's perfect killer wrapped in human form. Fact 4.
Do it.
One of T2's most mind-blowing visuals isn't CGI at all, it's a real twin trick. In the scene where Sarah Connor and John perform maintenance on the Terminator's damaged head using a mirror, there's no reflection effect. Instead, it's a practical illusion featuring Linda Hamilton's twin sister, Leslie Hamilton Guerin. The mirror isn't a mirror at all. It's an open frame with two identical sets on each side. Arnold and Linda performed on one side, while Leslie and a prosthetic dummy of the Terminator's head mimicked them from the other. The timing had to be perfect. Every gesture and blink had to match to sell the illusion. James Cameron called it the hardest practical trick shot I ever directed. Most audiences assumed it was CGI, but it was all choreography and patience. No digital effects required. Leslie's performance was so convincing that even test viewers didn't realize it was a twin. The effect was decades ahead of its time, relying entirely on precision and ingenuity. Tragically, Leslie Hamilton passed away in 2020, but her contribution remains immortalized in one of the greatest practical effect moments in film history. Fact 5. That epic chase sequence with the T-1000 driving a helicopter under an overpass in pursuit of the SWAT van nearly ended in disaster multiple times. James Cameron insisted on real stunts, real vehicles, and no CGI wherever possible. The helicopter sequence was shot with stunt pilot Chuck Tamburo, who actually flew the chopper under an active freeway bridge, something that was completely illegal under FAA regulations. To keep the scene secret, The production obtained fake permits for traffic coordination and shot late at night without notifying local authorities. Cameron admitted later, "We would have all gone to jail if we'd been caught." During one take, the helicopter's rotors came within 5 feet of the bridge, nearly causing a crash. Crew members watching from below said they thought the pilot would be cut in half. Despite the danger, the stunt made it into the final film, almost untouched. It's one of the most intense chase sequences ever filmed, not because of effects, but because what you're watching is a real risk. Fact 6.
No trouble.
The scenes set in the Pescadero State Hospital were filmed in a real abandoned mental health institution, and cast members later said the building felt truly haunted. The interiors were shot at the shuttered Phoenix Academy in Los Angeles, a former juvenile psychiatric ward known for severe overcrowding and rumored mistreatment of patients. Linda Hamilton said the building's energy helped her performance. You could feel suffering in the walls. Crew members experienced constant equipment failures, flickering lights, and unexplained noises. One security guard refused to work nights after hearing voices in empty hallways. The infamous scene where Sarah Connor escapes by stabbing a guard with a syringe was filmed in an actual surgical wing. Hamilton insisted on doing most of the stunt herself, learning how to hold the syringe exactly the way hospital staff would, between the fingers like a weapon. Even creepier, the iconic moment where Sarah licks the floor to retrieve the paperclip used for lockpicking, that wasn't a clean prop floor. It was the real, decades-old linoleum from the ward. Cameron warned her it was unsanitary, but Hamilton refused a double, saying Sarah Connor wouldn't care. To top it off, the elevator used in Sarah's escape was original hospital equipment. It broke down mid-scene with Hamilton, Edward Furlong, and several stunt actors inside, leaving them trapped in total darkness for nearly 5 minutes. The chilling realism of those scenes wasn't just acting, the building did half the work. Fact 7. One of the coolest moments in the film is Arnold swinging the shotgun in a full 360-degree flip cock during the canal chase. But here's what most people don't know. That stunt was real, and it nearly destroyed Schwarzenegger's hand. The Winchester 1887 shotgun used in the film was heavily modified, but the flip cock reload still required tremendous force. During early rehearsals, the metal lever repeatedly smashed into Arnold's knuckles, causing bruising so bad the makeup team had to cover it daily. Cameron offered to fake the motion using cuts and sound effects, but Arnold refused. The Terminator wouldn't cheat, he said. The stunt became even harder once filming began. During the motorcycle chase, Schwarzenegger had to steer a Harley-Davidson with one hand, reload the shotgun mid-turn, and maintain his robotic expression. At one point, Arnold misjudged a flip and sliced the skin of his thumb open on the metal lever. Production halted briefly while he received on-set medical treatment. The famous flip motion happened so fast that Cameron had to shoot it in slow motion just to make sure audiences noticed it. It's one of the most iconic stunts in action history, and every spin, bruise, and knuckle crack was absolutely real. Fact 8. Viewers often comment that the T-1000 looks disturbingly real, even before he starts shape-shifting. One major reason? Robert Patrick trained himself not to blink when firing guns. Cameron told Patrick he wanted the T-1000 to seem more biomechanical than the T-800, not robotic in a clunky way, but unsettlingly smooth and precise. Patrick realized humans blink from recoil and instinct, so if he could eliminate that reflex, his character would instantly look more alien. He trained for weeks by firing blanks while holding his eyes wide open. The recoil caused eye irritation, tearing, and headaches. Eventually, he learned to fire without even flinching. The result is unforgettable. During every firefight, especially in close-ups, Patrick's eyes remained dry, cold, and predator still. Cameron said it gave the character shark energy. Edward Furlong said it made Patrick seem inhuman and scary even off camera. In one behind-the-scenes clip, Patrick practices sprinting while focusing on a single point without blinking. Crew members joked they were afraid to make eye contact with him on set. When fans later asked Patrick how he learned the skill, he joked, "I stopped blinking in 1990 and haven't blinked since."
Maybe you should start listening to my leadership ideas once in a while.
When filming started, Edward Furlong was 13 years old and going through a rapid puberty growth spurt. Because T2 was shot out of sequence over many months, his voice kept changing, sometimes between two scenes meant to occur minutes apart. In early takes, he sounds like a kid. By the end of production, his voice had dropped dramatically. Cameron realized that if they used the raw audio, John Connor would sound like two different characters depending on the day of filming. The solution? Nearly all of Furlong's dialogue had to be re-recorded in post-production to match the tone Cameron wanted. Furlong had to spend weeks in a sound booth repeating lines from months earlier trying to recreate the exact emotional beats. But the problems didn't stop with his voice. Furlong also grew several inches during production, causing continuity nightmares. In some scenes, his stunt double. A small adult looked taller than him. In others, Furlong had to crouch so he wouldn't appear taller than Linda Hamilton. The most noticeable issue is the canal chase. Look closely. At the beginning, he sounds like a child. By the end, his ADR is deeper and his hair length jumps between shots because he kept growing. Despite these headaches, Cameron kept Furlong because he felt the actor brought an authenticity he couldn't replace. Fact 10. The liquid metal T-1000 effects are some of the most groundbreaking in film history, but what most people don't know is that almost none of it was computer-generated at first. Before ILM added CGI, the effects team designed practical liquid metal props, mercury poured into molds, gelatin sculptures, chrome-painted prosthetics, and reflective silicone bullet wounds. The production experimented with real mercury until crew members started getting sick from exposure. After that, Cameron banned mercury entirely. Once ILM stepped in, they used early CGI, software that allowed modelers to simulate molten reflections. These tools were created almost from scratch and later became the foundation for the effects used in Jurassic Park. The T-1000 was literally the prototype for the dinosaurs. Cameron said, "We built an effects language for Hollywood. After T2, nothing was the same." Ironically, the T-1000 has only about 3.5 minutes of CGI in the entire movie. The rest is clever editing, practical makeup, and lighting tricks. Fact 11. The massive canal chase where the T-800 jumps his Harley into the Los Angeles flood channel is one of T2's most iconic moments. What most people don't know is that the stunt was so dangerous that no insurance company wanted to cover it. The stunt required the motorcycle to be driven off a 12-foot platform and land perfectly onto a moving tow rig disguised as the bottom of the canal. The tow rig sped forward at the exact pace needed to absorb the Harley's weight. If it moved too slow, the bike would have nosedived. Too fast, and Arnold's stunt double would be thrown backward off the motorcycle. Stuntman Peter Kent Arnold's longtime double had rehearsed the motion dozens of times, but the full jump could only be executed once because the Harley would be destroyed on impact. During the actual take, the rig hit a tiny patch of uneven pavement and jolted sideways, causing Kent to land slightly off-center. The impact tore muscle in his shoulder and cracked 2 ribs, but he held posture, kept the bike upright, and the shot was perfect. James Cameron yelled, "Cut! We got it!" without even realizing Kent was injured. Kent later said, "That jump was the closest I ever came to dying on a Cameron set. It remains one of the most dangerous real stunts ever filmed in an action movie, and all of it was captured without CGI." Fact 12.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Arnold's iconic leather jacket wasn't just a costume by the end of filming. It became a 40-pound armor rig loaded with hidden controls, wires, and prosthetic pieces. At first, the jacket was a simple wardrobe item, but as the script required the Terminator to take gunshots, peel away skin, and expose machinery, the FX team built mechanical prosthetics directly into the jacket. Some shots required pneumatic blood pumps, steel plates, animatronic servos, and battery packs. On heavy days, Arnold had 2 assistants whose sole job was helping him put the jacket on and off. The animatronics were so bulky that he could barely raise his arms. During the desert scenes, temperatures climbed above 110 degrees Celsius. Arnold was sweating so much that the interior servos began shorting out. The crew had to line the inside of the jacket with diapers, yes, baby diapers, to absorb sweat and protect the electronics. Arnold later joked, "The jacket weighed more than the shotgun." Despite the discomfort, the jacket's built-in effects made the Terminator's damage look incredibly realistic and helped sell the illusion of a machine underneath. Fact 13.
The dark future, which never came, still exists for me.
Most fans don't realize T2 originally had a completely different ending, one that would have closed the franchise forever. In the deleted Future Coda ending, Sarah Connor appears as an elderly grandmother sitting on a park bench in the year 2029, narrating how Judgment Day never happened. John is a senator, the world is peaceful, and Skynet was permanently prevented. James Cameron shot the scene with full prosthetic aging makeup on Linda Hamilton. Her son Dalton even played her grandson. It was meant to be a hopeful final message, but when the scene was tested with audiences, the feedback was brutally negative. Viewers said the prosthetic makeup looked distracting, the tone felt corny, and worst of all, it answered too many questions. Cameron realized the scene robbed the franchise of its mystery and emotional tension. He scrapped the ending entirely and replaced it with the iconic highway shot of an uncertain future. The idea that the future is not set became the heart of the franchise, a tone that would have been destroyed by the original ending. Linda Hamilton later said she was relieved. Sarah Connor shouldn't fade away quietly. She should haunt the future. The deleted ending now exists only on special editions, a strange alternate timeline where the Terminator universe ends in sunshine instead of fire. Fact 14. One of the T-1000's signature kills involves him stabbing victims with razor-sharp metal finger spikes. While the stabbing itself was done with camera tricks, the finger blade gloves worn by Robert Patrick were very real, very sharp, and extremely uncomfortable. The props were made of rigid resin, designed to look like polished liquid metal. They attached to Patrick's hands like rings, with long blades extending out past his fingertips. Because they were fragile but sharp, Patrick had to move slowly to avoid breaking them or accidentally stabbing himself or other actors. In one rehearsal, Patrick turned too quickly and nearly sliced a stunt coordinator across the face. After that, Cameron banned him from wearing the spikes during blocking. The hardest shot to film was the moment where the T-1000 stabs the foster father through the milk carton. The blade had to puncture the carton, hit its mark, and remain visible on camera. The stunt performer had to time his reaction precisely as milk sprayed from the puncture. They only got one usable take out of dozens because the props kept breaking or bending. Fact 15. The steel mill showdown is one of the most visually stunning finales ever filmed, but it was a real-life hazard zone for the cast and crew. The molten steel seen on screen wasn't CGI. It was made from melted plastic and reflective lighting effects, heated to incredibly high temperatures to look convincing on camera. During the scene where the Terminator sinks into the molten pit, Arnold had to grab a metal railing that had been freshly heated by nearby pyro effects. The prop department misjudged how hot the metal would get once the lights and fire sources were activated. On the first take, when Arnold reached for the railing, he instinctively grabbed it with full force and immediately burned the skin on his palm. He didn't scream. He didn't break character. He simply finished the take, then calmly told Cameron, "The railing is too hot." Production halted for medical treatment, and the crew wrapped the rail in insulated material, repainting it to look metallic. The grueling conditions didn't end there. The set was so hot that Robert Patrick couldn't stand still during takes. His synthetic police uniform became sticky, and his micro-thin metal costume pieces nearly melted under the lights. Many background extras reported heat exhaustion, and multiple props warped under the extreme conditions. Fact 16. The T-1000's liquid metal movements sound futuristic metallic gliding, wet slithering, and sharp stabbing tones. But the sound design team didn't use futuristic gear at all. They used dog food, mixing bowls, and silverware. When the T-1000 morphs, sound designer Gary Rydstrom deliberately avoided computer noises. Instead, he wanted something biological yet metallic. His solution? Canned dog food squished with rubber gloves, metal spatulas scraping against ice, jello slammed onto marble, and knives dipped into yogurt. These disgusting mixtures were layered, pitched down, and processed to create the T-1000's liquid body moves. The iconic metal healing sound when bullet holes close is actually a capsule of dog food falling into a bowl, reversed and slowed. The famous spike finger stabbing sound was a foot-long knife stabbed into a watermelon, mixed with a metallic strum from a guitar string. This bizarre tactile approach is why the T-1000 still feels unsettling. The audience is hearing something familiar yet alien metal that moves like flesh. Fact 17.
Baby.
One of T2's most iconic moments is the T-1000 freezing solid in a cloud of liquid nitrogen, but filming that scene was far more dangerous and complicated than it looks. James Cameron wanted absolute realism, so instead of relying on CGI or smoke machines, the effects team actually pumped real super-chilled gas onto the set to create that frosty atmosphere. The temperature dropped so low that crew members' equipment began freezing. Robert Patrick, who played the T-1000, had to stand in the middle of the nitrogen fog for extended takes, which caused the metal parts of his costume to become painfully cold. His breathing condensed into thick clouds that sometimes interfered with the take, so Cameron asked him to hold his breath during key shots, pushing him to the edge of physical endurance. The shattering of the T-1000 wasn't CGI either. The production team built multiple life-sized Robert Patrick dummies cast in brittle resin, each designed to break apart differently. Exploding them required precise squib placements and mechanical triggers, and each dummy cost thousands of dollars, meaning the crew had one chance per take. Ironically, Cameron shot the entire sequence in the middle of a scorching Los Angeles heat wave. Between takes, the nitrogen fog melted instantly, turning the ground wet and slippery. Several crew members slipped on the icy floor, causing minor injuries. Fact 18. Despite T2 having iconic humor, I Need a Vacation, and No Problemo, Cameron enforced an extremely intense environment behind the scenes. Crew members called it the Cameron Drill. Cameron demanded absolute focus. No joking, no idle chatter, no casual breaks. He believed maintaining a deadly serious mood helped actors embody the character's trauma, especially Linda Hamilton, who needed to exist in Sarah Connor's paranoid mindset. One crew member said, "We were afraid to sneeze around him." Even Arnold later admitted the set was like a military operation. The rule applied most of all during scenes with heavy emotional weight, especially Sarah's hospital meltdown and John's tearful attempts to teach the Terminator humanity. Cameron reportedly told cast members not to smile between takes so they wouldn't reset emotionally. Still, some actors pushed back. Edward Furlong said he sometimes tried to crack jokes just to break the tension. Cameron stared him down until he stopped. Yet many cast members later said the strict atmosphere allowed for the film's legendary performances. Fact 19.
John.
One of the creepiest visuals in the film is when the T-1000 steps onto what looks like an ordinary floor, only to melt downward into a chrome-like pool. Shockingly, none of this was CGI until the final melt-in. The liquid floor was actually a highly polished, perfectly reflective metal plate built into the set. ILM matched the plate's exact reflections in the CGI model using painstaking reference photography. But the weirdest part is how Robert Patrick did the sinking motion. There was a trapdoor cut into the metal plate, and Patrick had to slide down into a chute below the set. The timing had to match the CGI exactly. If he moved too fast or too slow, ILM's work wouldn't line up. Patrick described it as dancing into a hole. He rehearsed the move dozens of times like choreography. The clang you hear when he steps on the surface is real metal, not a sound effect. Later, CGI additions blended the practical plate with the digital liquid surface, creating one of the best hybrid effects of the 90s. Even today, VFX artists say the shot represents perfection, all from a shiny piece of metal and a well-timed fall. Fact 20. T2 is explosively loud, literally. During production, the steel mill finale, the Cyberdyne shootout, and the highway chase generated so much noise that Los Angeles residents filed multiple complaints with the fire department and local government. The building used as Cyberdyne systems was a real office complex, and Cameron insisted on using real glass, real squibs, and real detonations to achieve authentic debris. In one day alone, the FX team detonated over 350 explosive charges, so many that nearby workers thought an earthquake had struck. When filming the armored truck explosion, the shockwave shattered nearby car windows outside the permitted zone. Cameron apologized and then requested bigger charges for the next take. The steel mill was even worse. The massive flamethrowers created columns of heat so intense that nearby residents reported unexplained fireballs lighting up the night sky. The LAPD visited the set at least twice after calls from residents. Cameron reportedly told them, "You think this is loud? Wait until tomorrow." Despite the chaos, these practical explosions are a huge reason why T2 still looks and sounds more realistic than modern CGI destruction. And there you have it, 20 weird and surprising facts about Terminator 2. Judgment Day, the movie that didn't just push filmmaking forward, it blew the doors off the future. If you loved this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and smash that bell for more behind-the-scenes secrets from the greatest movies ever made.